Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My stained fingers and I welcome you. This is another one of the accordion cards. I've sort of done a semi little series scattered throughout the last few videos I've done. So this is it. It's got an accordion inside and it's using the fabulous Florals and Bloom set. So it's just a little step away from the whole Christmas and holidays. And I thought this was rather pretty, so I am going to show you how to make it. So bring in the ingredients. It's a piece of bubble bath, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, so it will fit nicely into a standard envelope. Let me just get my bone folder and give that a good crease. So that's the card. We're happy with that. There is quite a few little doodaddy bits that I made extra. So the designer series paper is cut at 5 1/4 by 10 and it is scored at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So you just have a 1-inch concertina all the way along except for the two ends, which are 2 inches. So we're just going to fold them back on themselves. I am going to double fold them just because it makes it easier when you open the card. So it doesn't matter whether you start with a valley fold, end with a mountain fold, as long as they all fold nicely. That's what counts. So this one needs to be down. I'm glad I said that before I reversed all my folds and you didn't think I'd made a mistake. It is just easier if you have them all folded backwards and forwards. So there we go. Gather them all in. And I am just going to give these all a good crease with my bone folder because that will help them keep their shape. So there we have it. So we've got a piece that's 2, 1 and 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 2. So that makes your 10. And then if you've cut a 10-inch piece off a 12-inch piece of designer series paper, you are left with 2 inches. And what I did was I took the 2-inch piece that was left and I cut 3/4 of an inch off the end of it, which leaves 1 1/4 and the 3/4. And I've actually gone ahead and moved those out of their pattern, haven't I? Because I wanted to keep the shape going across. It is so hardly noticeable on this particular pattern, but depending on the designer series paper you use, it could be. So while I've got this organized back into the right place, I am going to stick it on the front. So a little bit of adhesive. And I'm just going to stick it about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And then just double verify that that is indeed the piece that follows on. Some adhesive on there. And then leave a little gap. And that's securely fastened to the front. So we're all right with the front, or the front bit of designer series paper. And then what we need to do is attach the insides. So we're going to put adhesive just on the 2-inch ends. So put it on one end first. Again, with this paper, it's so busy, it doesn't really matter. But of course, if you had the orientation, you would need to remember to put it in the right way up. I just have to turn mine over because I'm a lefty. And it's easier for me to make sure I've got an even border around. And then the easiest way to do it is to put the adhesive on the other 2-inch end and close the card onto it. And then you can make sure it's all lined up and that it looks pretty nice and even, and then commit it and press it down. So we've now got the inside done. The designer series paper, of course, needs a little panel to write on. So I have taken a piece, and this is 5 by 1 3/4. So it's just the 1/4 inch layer smaller than the 2 by 5 1/4. That was the end piece. So that can just pop evenly on there, and that becomes the signing panel. And then when I was fussy cutting out these flowers from the piece of designer series paper, it always has an edge, and this flower was on the edge, and I thought, well, rather than waste it, I am just going to stick it in the top corner of here, because it's got the edge of the paper, but it's going on the edge of the white. And now it just adds a little dimension in there, you know, a little bit of something, something. And it's used up a piece that otherwise wouldn't be a whole flower. So then what we need to do is a little bit of stamping. And this is where my being lovely and dyed comes in. So I've got a little piece of basic white. These I cut from Blackberry Bliss, the same as the ink we're going to be using, and I did them using the layering circle. So I cut one scalloped circle and one plain circle. So you can use punches, you can use dies, you can cut a square if you don't have any dies, you know, and just cut it a little bit of a smaller size down. And then this is 3/8, and it's just that long, because we're going to stamp a whole stamp and then cut it down into pieces. I'm just starting to see now Blackberry Bliss everywhere. A word of caution: if you're using Blackberry Bliss, just be very careful, because it, joking aside, it really is a juicy, colourful ink, and it gets everywhere. I'm not particularly a messy stamper. I don't know, Blackberry Bliss just sees me coming and thinks, wah! So this is an old paper pumpkin kit, which I write on with a Sharpie marker on mine. And this was from July 2019. But I thought the sentiments that it gave me were just right for me. So I'm going to use my little Blackberry Bliss spot, which would have come in one of the paper pumpkin kits. And I'm just going to ink this up. It says, "You're the best." And I'm going to stamp it along here. So if my head gets in the shot, just pardon, because it's such a skinny little slither of cardstock. Not too bad. A teeny tiny bit off kilter, but I've said it before, a man on a galloping horse isn't going to notice that. And then I'm going to use the happy birthday and stamp that onto basic white layered circle. And that's going to go at the top, but I'm going to bring in my silicone mat just so I have a border, because it's pretty much close to the edge when all is said and done. Whoops. So there's the happy birthday stamped on there. And now I'm going to attach it to the layered one. And then I fussy cut these two little flowers out, and I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on here, and I'm doing that on the silicone mat because there is the potential for sticky, and I'm just going to pop those under the greeting. Oops. Oh no, get off. So there we go, just two nice little flowers. I'm going to just trim off that bit of excessive stalk, because I don't think we need it. Now the thing is, the card is quite fat, and normally I would have attached this with dimensionals, but I wanted to go in the mail, and if I put too much fatness in, it won't make it through the mail. They'll charge extra, so no dimensionals for this one. No dimensionals for you. But there we have the front. And then what we're going to do is I cut out 3 really small circles, again using one of the smallest scalloped dies from that same set. And what I'm going to do is I am going to cut these apart. You're the best. It's only the "you're" that really matters, because it's the longest of the 3. So we'll turn those over. Oh, this was obviously a scrap of something, but not to fear, every piece of cardstock's got two sides. And of course it doesn't matter which circle it gets attached to because they're all the same. The best yaw, a little bit of yodering in the middle of stamping the greeting. And you see the yaw really just makes it across. And then what we're going to do is we're going to attach them ZZ fold style to these folds as it goes through. So you just need to flip it over and only put adhesive on the left hand side. So flip it over and adhesive on the left hand side. And now we're going to do, oh, well, apparently we're going to do best with, we're still yodering. So if we put best about there, and then if we put your on first, you can then, wherever you've got them, oops, you can pretty much then gauge where is the middle between those two circles and attach that there. So now it says you're the best in an even direction. So that is it. It looks more complicated than it is. Once you've got the ingredients sort of built, the pieces, it goes together really quite easily. There's a nice panel for signing, and I think it's a pretty paper, and it was just fun to do something that wasn't reds and greens and blues and snowy colours and all that good stuff. So there you have it. If you like what you've seen, please consider subscribing. If you've got a question or a comment, pop those in the box below and I will always get back to you. And in the meantime, thanks so much for watching.